what's the point of business is to fund the perfect life, right? And that's really
Right.
what you do and how you're able to impact it. And like right now, in the last couple of years, I went through a very like large growth moment for myself and trying to really find out like what is it that I get joy out of and what's really my purpose? Like what's my purpose to kind of keep it going all the time? And, kind of going through it all, I learned in my life through my successes, it was because I started to learn to bet on myself, do what I feel in my gut. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but it's my decision, not somebody else's. And so by doing that within the business, I've had success. And through that success, what I found that was the most gratifying and the most fulfilling for me was seeing those around me be successful and helping them get what they want.
Hey, welcome listeners. Today I have the distinct honor and privilege of speaking with and sharing a few minutes with George Mrad. He is the founder and CEO of Red Door Metro, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Has been in the business for over 2 decades. It just rocks the house. I just can't wait to dive in with George here and learn about how he has done what he's done. So George, welcome to the show today, man.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we talked a little before we got started, but I love the wall art behind you of those Porsches. You're telling me you're a little bit of a collector and a fan of Porsche?
Yeah. So, it was, I'm a big car guy anyway, but Porsche definitely has become something of, I'd say, more of an obsession nowadays. Definitely something I really love. It's an amazing vehicle. It's an amazing drive, but I think more the history and the culture that goes around it is pretty, pretty amazing. Quick fact, Porsche in all of the years that it's been around, over 70%, I believe about 72% of the cars ever made are still on the road driving today.
Wow.
So, it's one of those things where it's like that. It feeds my passion, good investments these days. So I'm a real fan of the old school, the older cars.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, not only a good investment, but a lot of fun. More fun with that investment than your stock report, right?
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Awesome. Well, hey, real quick, just diving in here. So, over a couple of decades of experience in the business, super successful in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro area and whatnot. Tell me, how'd you get involved in real estate? I mean, where'd you come from?
Sure. So I'm a local guy. We're in the Northern Virginia area. I went to high school here locally, and I attended George Mason University. Received a degree in finance. Received a degree in management with a minor in finance. And while I was in college, I was a personal trainer. And one of the clients that I had, she was a single agent, and she was starting a team, and I was training her husband, and her son. And at that time, I was actually at a little bit of a crossroads. I was graduating college, and a family member of ours had a brokerage, he was a loan officer, and he had his own brokerage business. So I was actually going to join him at one time, but kind of geared toward my client who was starting her team. She explained it, and I felt kind of the personal one-on-one, actually personal interaction with people was going to be a better fit for me. So I kind of did that in late 99, early 2000. And as you can see, it's been a whirlwind from there.
No looking back. So, did you have like designs when you were going through school? I mean, management and finance. Were you thinking that you're going to take this road of ultimately, entrepreneurship and running your own ship, so to speak?
Well, I think I was always the hustler, right? So college, I was kind of on that 6-year plan. Went there, kind of had my little bit of fun, was asked to leave and had to get my way back into the university and really took it more seriously. But, I was always that hustler. So during that time, there was always the .com era, with stocks and things like that.
Yeah.
And on a daily basis, I was sitting in the back of, our lecture hall for my class. And instead of listening to class, I would have watched MSNBC in the morning, and I would buy stocks during the day. And, I was close to 6 figures, during college days in the back of the classroom. So um, at that time, it was always kind of that hustler mentality. I was always kind of doing things. I was running nightclubs in DC. We were, promoting parties. We were doing security for various venues. So was always kind of have that in our blood. I'm also Lebanese, so a lot of them say that that's something that's in our genes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So was always on that road, but never thought it was going to be real estate. It was kind of that thing kind of fell into my lap, and I think the real joy of it is really the sales part. That was always something that I always excelled in. At a high level, I think in anything I ever did. Just to give you an example, when they had all the little magazine sales, when you were in elementary and middle school and all of those kind of things, I was the guy who won the bike and the skateboard and always sold the most and things like that. So that was always something that was in my nature. Real estate is just the vehicle that, is just the product that I'm able to go sell. But, that's always something that's, kind of been within me for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no doubt. Well, I think you landed well. I think I picked up in there that one of the key drivers for you is that you liked being out with the people. So is that also like in real estate that it's really sort of hands-on and helping people through the
I
process?
mean, it's kind of it's crazy because if you think about it, Paul, just like you doing the loans, I mean, we're helping most of the time. This is their biggest transaction ever in their life. It's the biggest thing they're ever dealing with. On top of that, you're dealing with so much emotion because it's their home. It's an investment property. It's no emotion. It's just numbers. But most of the time, when you're dealing with resale and people, they're moving families, they're making adjustment because of things that have happened, events that have happened in the lifetime. So, helping them on this journey, you realize how important it is, and really it's about you gaining their trust and you really looking out for their best interest and them knowing that. That's something that I think that's been like the real gift by doing this because a lot of times we don't realize, we have many clients, we sell a lot of properties, do a lot of things, but a lot of times for them, that's their one property. And when you do that and you do it right, like you make a lasting impression. Um, I remember, I think like my 5th year in the business, I got a random call from one of the schools that are in the area where we sell homes. And they were calling me because the child was sick and it was one of my clients' child, and they put me as the emergency contact because they were new to this area. Um, they were new to the area, and they didn't know too many people, and we had become friends. I had to, let them know about restaurants, and we just kind of kept in touch and things like
Yeah.
that. And made the impression to the point where I was the emergency contact. I had no idea until afterwards, and of course, went there and helped out with what we could do. But you make that impression and you go on that journey with people, and it's pretty rewarding for us as well as for them.
Well, no doubt. I mean, that's an amazing story. I mean, you really, what I've seen the most successful real estate agents over the years, they do that. They really just become a member of the family, to help because it seems like to me, you talk about it's an emotional process and a journey, and that people, you and I deal in these transactions all the time, but this is that one. This is their home. It might be the first home. It might be a subsequent home, but generally someone's buying or selling a home because there's some trigger that's going on in their life, right?
For sure, for
Good,
sure.
bad, but it's generally not because, they just decide, oh, let's just go buy a house.
It's usually there's a life event, right? There's something that's causing them to do that, and sometimes it's a good life event, and sometimes it's not a good life event. But at the end of the day, that's usually the root of at least the majority of the business that we deal with is mostly resale, normal people buying and selling real estate.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you, what would you say coming like young and starting your career in real estate, do you think that was an advantage that you kind of got right in and used your energy and your hustle? I know a lot of real estate agents come into the business and they've had, a previous career or whatnot. How has that been different for you?
Well, what's crazy because with real estate, um, like coming in and being in the business, when we started, we didn't have an MLS on the internet. We barely had internet. We had to go get a CD and load up a program, a realtor workstation, in order to search it. And God forbid, there was no GPS, none. There was a very thick ADC map that you would
Those
go
maps.
around. The maps that would be on the side on your that would be your shotgun. That would be your navigator next to you. Open up, trying to find out did the person put the right quadrants of C and 46 to know is that where the property is, to kind of figure out where you were going.
Yeah.
It's evolved so much, and seeing it evolve and kind of where it's gone. Um, I think being young, it's helped me because I was able to kind of learn it young, but I also learned very young and early on that there isn't only one way. And especially now with the way business is being done. I mean, I cannot tell you, you know, core things, core values are still there, but how you do business and the way you do business and what you're doing is completely different right now. And you're almost becoming reborn on a yearly basis, trying to adapt with what it is. And I think that's been, you know, what's taken real estate, the numbers that individuals or teams are doing now is astronomical on some levels. And I think it's because, they're able to adapt all of that. So I think being young and not being tainted has helped out, definitely for sure. But there's definitely been a lot of bruises and nicks along the way to kind of get it to here. So I don't know. I think I can take the nicks and bruises. I took them pretty well at a younger age, so I think that's probably a benefit. So
Yeah, well, no doubt. But to be successful in any business, you're gonna have that, right? You're gonna have nicks, bruises, break a leg or two maybe if you get back up. So, what about so you talk about different ways of doing business today, and I would agree. And I laugh about your map story because my wife still laughs at me because I used to really like going through the map books. You know, it's really cool. So you go to the, you flip from one page to the other and you find your way around. But what do you see? What strategies today are some of the top two or three that you see are working in that space?
well, for us right now, we've really double, triple down on our social media. We're doing social media left and right. I'm kind of at that age or that generation where, social media kind of came way afterwards. I'm still on Instagram while everyone's still on TikTok. Like, I don't even know what that is. I don't even understand the concept of it, but that stuff works. And really, what's been really helpful is kind of the combination and the team that kind of I've created around me has brought a lot of youth and a lot of this young what's working out there. We do videos on a monthly basis, and when they tell me what I need to do in the video, I'm about to walk out of the room. It's like I'm not doing that. I look like an idiot. But it's stuff that works. I mean, they did one that I was like very vocal that I was not happy about, and it has like 75,000 views, and it was like going viral and all this, and that's what people want to see. I'm all about trying to give content, and give you information, and people just want little snippets, and we've kind of mended both of those worlds together, and we do a combination of both, and it's really been it's been working. One thing that I learned early on in my career that my old mentor used to do is her husband was a statistician. So
Mm.
he would go out and, analyze the market in many ways to the point of telling us what we were selling in any given year based on appointments and different types of things. We've brought a lot of those kind of stats here now, where with social media, I had a statistician, who works closely with us, who helps us change the demographics, who we're targeting, how we're targeting people, where we're going. So it's, can prove to be effective. And that's been really getting our reach out there. But at the end of the day, we're still doing what we've always done, and that's give great customer service, really do what's best for the client, really make sure that they feel like they're getting concierge service. And that's something that's really important because, again, they're not doing this every day. And trust me, there's so many different factors of moving, having to move, having to pack, schools, change, just so many things going on. What we try to do is alleviate any pressure or anything off of them to try to make the transaction as seamless as possible.
Well, no, that's awesome. And then, there's a whole lot that they don't even know that's out there that you help them navigate, right? I mean, just the minefields of negotiating the contract and all the potential issues that can come up there, the contingencies, knowing and understanding the market. And I imagine knowing and understanding other players in the market so you can have those conversations, as you're really trying to fit this puzzle piece together, with your client, their needs and desires and their budget, and with really, what's going to work for them, right?
Yeah, like I always use analogy or the example of, we're their lawyer and we're out there to go out there and try to, like, state their case, try to make sure the other side understands and see it. We can't come to an agreement with the prosecution, as they say. You know what I mean? It's trying to figure out how to make that all work, and that's something I think that's been, you know, very. One of the things you asked me about, knowing this business early on, I learned early on that the realtor world is very small. You know what I mean? And how you do and how you treat people and how you do by people and things like that. So, that's always proved to be very effective, later on when you really need it in a transaction, when you're having a heart to heart conversation with an agent, different things, how you treated them during a transaction. Because I always like to tell them you're always on audition. It might be for somebody else, it might be for a client, it may be for a neighbor, you don't know where, but you're always on consistent audition, and you got to make sure you always act like someone's watching.
That's good. That's good advice, no doubt, no sound advice. Because I mean, if you're a long-term player, you're going to run into the same people over and over again, right? And you're also going to have clients that are going to come back. They bought a home with you 10 years ago. They want to buy another one, maybe move up or sell to move or both or whatnot, right? So you're building this legacy over time, and you want to put the right seeds in the ground.
And sometimes you don't even, I mean, there's been times where we're on the other side of the transaction, and how we handle the transaction, the people call us instead of their agent later on when they want to sell or buy. I mean, we've had that happen several times because, like I said, you just got to be the professional. I think sometimes agents, when they go into it, they think it's like a battle and it's like, oh, it's us again. No, we're here, like my man, we're here to work together. We're here to kind of get to, we're all on the same side. If we can't get together or we can't agree, that's one thing. But there's nobody one against us. We are really trying to work together, and that's been really effective. And when you're able to have somebody like that on the other side, and usually the transaction ends up being, quite amazing.
Oh man, no doubt. That's a good way to put it. I think you're really all working together towards the same end goal, and then everyone wins. But so tell me this. We've been through a lot, and you've seen a lot over the 20 plus years. We went through this crazy COVID period, and I think we're sort of on the back end of that at this point. With your experience, what do you see in the market right now? What do you expect to happen? In the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. What's
So
what's
I mean, I think we have a major shortage of homes.
hmm,
At the end of the day, we have more people than we have homes, and people need to live somewhere. And right now, I think that's kind of keeping us going. Um, the rates did what they did last year and kind of going into this year, but I think people now are kind of getting used to it and seeing that, what are really the options? Let's talk about it. You buy a house now with the whatever the interest rate, 7%, which where it was hovering for a while, 6.5 to 7. And you get the house you want. If it stays the same, you have the house you want. If it goes up, you're happy because you got in at 7. If it goes down, you refi. So it's one of those win-win-win situations where it really depends on what we talked about before. What are the circumstances? What are the life events that are really contributing? Um, and I think once people get used to that idea and they start really understanding it, which I think has been happening now, you're finding people back out buying homes because people can afford to buy homes. And now there's more creative options. 2-1 buy downs. ARMs are coming back. I mean,
mhm.
Paul, you can educate us all day long on that with the creative ways that people are doing it. And I think, you know, just like our business is just getting reinvented into another way. Um, and right now, what we've already seen is spring market has already sprung. I
Yeah.
mean, we sold 4 listings this month. We have, a lot of showings. My agents have appointments with buyers. I mean, they're out going, and the consistent message that we're seeing is there's a lack of inventory out there. So I think as long as there's a lack of inventory, there's going to be a growing need for people like that. For the future right now, I think, are we going to have our 12, 18% per year growth? No, but I think we're going to see probably even more than the modest growth of a couple percent we used to year. So I think we're going to still see our 3, 4, 5% naturally. If it's the right house and it looks good, people are going to buy it. If it's not, people aren't going to buy it. That's going to be the difference in this market. I think the other thing too that we have to keep a close eye on as we kind of go through this, and I think this is something for all of your viewers and everybody to kind of keep in mind is, you know, home ownership, there's still nothing better. And there's a reason why now hedge funds, major corporations are out buying loads and loads of real estate. I had a very dear friend of mine who lives in Ashburn. He called me. He's like, "Don't be mad." I said, "What?" And he said, "I sold my house." And then I was started to get mad, of course. And I was like, "Well, what?" And he was like, and he kind of told me, and I think it was BlackRock or whatever came in, gave him a cash offer, 1 million, way more than I think we could have sold it for, plus with no expenses. I was like, you had to do it, but there's a reason why these guys are doing that, because they're going to kind of corner that market, because everyone's going to need to have a home. So if you're able to kind of keep a home and have it and kind of grow wealth and you're able to do it, there's still so many great tax advantages that it makes it beneficial for you to do that. I think, it will continue to kind of be like that, especially in our area here in like our Northern Virginia, Metro, DC, Maryland market. Um, and I think what's happening is a lot more in, our areas of the suburbs, as they say, where families, schools, different things like that, infrastructure. I think that's playing a large role. And that's why, we're having continuous growth here. Federal government with the contractors, the money. I think average income, Loudoun County, I believe, is probably, I think, one of the, if not the top county in the entire U.S., if not top three for, per household income. So, I mean, you have a lot of that that's going on here, which, feeds back into the schools and infrastructure. And I think we're going to continue to see a good market, kind of going out there. I think we're going to definitely see a level off. I definitely don't think we're going to see I don't think people can afford the massive increases that we've been seeing, the affordability factor. So,
Well, that's good. That's good insight. Yeah, everywhere we deal, we see a lot of the same things in terms of low inventory. The buyer demand cooled off a little bit in the fall, and then now coming into the new year, I think you're right. It's been a psychological shift. So you and I are old enough to know. Remember rates 6-7% was just kind of normal, right? But if you've been in the market the last couple of years and you saw 2.5 to 3%, you're like 6%, 7% is crazy.
no, the best is when they say, I'm not going to ever sell my house because I don't want to lose my interest rate. It's like, what are you talking? I mean, I bought a property 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I bought a property because
Yeah.
now everything's on sale. I mean, people don't realize. I mean, yeah, we had 2.5%, but then you paid, 15% above list price with no contingencies. And, you didn't really, it was kind of a different type of sort. So I think it's one of those things where real people right now, my investors are like, George, bring us properties. Like people,
Yeah.
they're all looking for it because they all know right now,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see another uptick. And imagine right now we're still doing pretty well with the recession and everything going on. Once the economy kind of starts coming back, I don't see it except going up. So if this is the worst we're having it, I'll take it.
Well, and interest rates are coming down too. You mentioned that. So all the indications are from everything that I see and study and historical experience shows that probably by mid-year we're going to be down close to 5%.
Yep.
So you take that on top of a low inventory situation, and then the spring, buying season and whatnot, and you've got a recipe for, bidding over asking price again, kind of like we were in the last.
That's why right now it's like if you got to buy, why? Like every time we sit and we talk to somebody, Paul, we say why? Like what's your reasoning? And then that's what we kind of discuss. What's motivating you to do it? If you have no motivation, then don't do it. Mm-hmm. But if Susie's room is too small or the school doesn't work or all that, that's still going to be your problem. So how do we manage through it? And I can tell you right now, I'd rather be in this market all day and navigate through this, because a lot of times when you have to have buyers do things in order to get a house, like in good conscience, it's one of those things where you have to do it, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to give up home inspection and not ever see anything. And you know what I mean? It's just,
yes.
It's one of those things where, this is now a more normal market, which, basically I think is a healthier market for everybody, for both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the seller has to go buy somewhere else, and he's going to have to be dealing with maybe the same thing. So,
no, I'm completely with you. Again, having lived through like 2008 and just the craziness of all that, a more normal market with normal expectations, and you can negotiate, and it's in every then you're literally in everyone's best interest. It's not, the buyers, a lot of buyers really ended up in a bad situation in the last couple of years, right? I mean, who knows what you're walking into. And as we were talking about earlier, this is like, man, this is your home. This is probably the biggest investment you've ever made, the biggest debt. And then you move in, and 3 months later you find out there's some major issue that you could have uncovered in the process earlier, had you had the time and the ability to do that, which now is perfect for that, right?
And when you get, and it's, I feel bad because the buyers sometimes just get caught up in all of it, like in all the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
sometimes, I mean, you find us, we're like kind of scaling them back. Like, okay,
Yeah,
guys, take a deep breath. Here's where we are. Here's,
right.
of course, we're going to do what they want, but it's very easy to get caught up with that market when it starts going crazy, and you start throwing away $50,000 and $100,000 like they're $5, and
uh,
it's like, oh, what's the big deal? We'll just go up this much, it's you know,
yeah.
so.
I think Ronald Reagan, his famous line around that whole concept was irrational exuberance, right? It was just like, just we lose our brains and we go after it. And you know he always had a line for something, and that was that. Well, hey, switching gears here, George, as we wind down, tell me this. So, with your long history and success in the business, and I know you've had large teams and large companies and all that, and now you've got this business that's rocking. What has your success been able to allowed you to do, either personally or for the community or somebody else? How have you been able to leverage that for something positive?
Ooh, um, yeah. So we'll go in order. I mean, the business has been amazing because it's really, what's the point of business is to fund the perfect life, right? And that's really
Right.
what you do, and how you're able to impact it. And like right now, in the last couple of years, I went through a very like large growth moment for myself, and trying to really find out like what is it that I get joy out of, and what's really my purpose. Like, what's my purpose to kind of keep it going all the time. And kind of going through it all, I learned in my life through my successes, it was because I started to learn to bet on myself. Do what I feel in my gut. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but it's my decision, not somebody else's. And so by doing that within the business, I've had success, and through that success, what I found that was the most gratifying and the most fulfilling for me was seeing those around me be successful and helping them get what they want. And it's really because I think, kind of when you go through life and you go through being, in business for yourself, you go through different things, you work really hard to get to a certain point. And then when you get to that point, you have everything. It's like, what else is going to fill that cup for you?
Mm.
And I found, for me, it was really diving deep into the people around me, whether it be the people that work with me, my personal life, my girlfriend, my children, my parents, um, my people in my office, anyone that comes into contact with me. I try to make sure that, they leave me being maybe in a better state of mind, a different way of thinking, maybe even learning to bet on themselves. And that's something that's been very huge. So, really having them. So, like, this past year, my agents all were able to achieve their goals and exceed their goals. Every agent made over six figures. We were the smallest team to reach seven-figure GCI this year, throughout, over about 1,200 agents throughout our company. People do it with 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 people. We did it with 3 or 4 people, and that's really
Awesome.
diving into them. But then what does it allow them to do? My lead agent, my right hand on my team, she was able to take her children, her parents, all to Disney World this year for
Oh,
the vacation of a lifetime, and that was always her dream to do that, and she was able to do
oh,
that.
that's awesome.
My director of operations, she's originally from Hawaii. She had to moved here many years ago. Has been here the whole time. Hasn't been back. She was able to go back with her husband and go back and reconnect with her family in Hawaii. Like, that's amazing for me. Like, those are the things that I think that make me tick. And it was crazy because there'd be days where we have commission checks coming in, and I would have one from a very large sale of mine, in the tens of thousands of dollars, and then my agent would have their sale, which is a more modest sale, and then our portion of it, which comes out to a lot less. I would have so much more satisfaction from their deal than I would from my own deal. And
Yeah.
that's why kind of, a big transition within our team is, to really try to lead them, empower them to kind of, bring on agents who have a high minded, thought process and attitude, and where we can teach them to bet on themselves, help them grow. Like all this stuff that we're doing within my business, a lot of people, our mutual client, Brad, always says, wow, you're doing this, or you're doing this. And I wish I could take credit for it, but this credit is from them because I tell them, what would you do if this was your business? How do you do it? So I make sure, one thing I learned early on is, if you don't have weigh-in, you don't have buy-in. So I make sure that they're very much involved in all of these process, who we hire, what we're bringing in, where our direction is going. And that's been proved to me has been probably the most successful, making us the most successful, but also has been more fulfilling than I think I've ever had throughout my years. Because the team has definitely evolved from many, many different formations. I mean, next year will be 10 years that, I've just had the team, and that thing has changed so many different times. And now I feel like we finally have the right, formula for success. So,
Wow. Wow. Hey, that's great. I can see why you're successful, George. I think was it the famous Zig Ziglar said, "To get what you want in life, help enough other people get what they want." And
sure.
that's what I love about entrepreneur. I think that's one kind of common thread with successful business owners, successful entrepreneurs. Sometimes we get such a bad rap, but it's really we can't be successful unless we help the people around us be successful first, right? And what an opportunity to make an impact on not only them but their families and what they're going to do into the future.
And then you're successful together. I mean, I'm, again, doing this for a long time. What's happened in the last handful of years with me has been a direct, impact of the people around me and what they've brought to it and what they've given it to me. And I wouldn't be able to have done it without them. And, you know, they always say, sometimes you only need a handful of people to kind of take care of it, and I think right now, finding those right people within your top five around you is going to really be really impactful and really pour into them.
Well, no doubt, no doubt. Well, George, it's hard to believe we're up to our break now, man. This has been
Sure.
awesome.
Awesome, buddy. Awesome.
Tell everyone how they can get in contact with you if they need an amazing real estate agent or team up in Northern Virginia or the metro area up there.
DC, yeah. So visit us on reddoormetro.com. We're also on our Instagram at Red Door Metro. And also, you can also always give us a call at 1-844-KW Metro, of course. And our slogan is, we are your doorway to better living.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Well, we're going to get all that in the show notes, so it'll be out there and the links and numbers and all that. So, George, again, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate your time today, man.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to all your listeners. And thank you for doing this and, always being a great thing. Just if anybody knows Paul is an amazing lender on a lot of levels. He helped out a client of ours through a very difficult situation and got him to the promised land. And, I really appreciate that. And that's when nobody else could do it. So I really appreciate what you're doing and be able to be out there, Paul. Really do.
Thank you. I appreciate that, George. All right.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.